In Michigan, Congressman Dan Kildee joins me now from Washington. And, Congressman Kildee, thank you for being here, first of all. And I want to give you an opportunity to respond to those members of your constituency who said that that you told your constituents that there would be no immigrant kids sent to their community, and that in fact was not true. How do you respond to that?
That was the information that we had been provided by the Department of Health and Human Services, and then they later corrected that. What happened was that the organization in Vassar had been negotiating a subcontract with a Chicago-based entity, and so when we found out that information, we simply put that information out. So, you know, this is one of those situations where everybody needs to dial down the hyperbole and put away their conspiracy theories and understand that what we have here is a true humanitarian crisis that we're trying to work through, and we need to think about it in those terms. Unfortunately, many of those voices back home, and many of the people at those protests are from outside my district, but many of the protests out home are mimicking or parroting speech from, I think, irresponsible members of Congress who have taken upon this opportunity to create political theater that they think helps them in the November elections. Unfortunately, many of those Republicans have no intention of trying to solve this problem. They actually think they benefit from this problem, which is a really pathetic and cynical approach to take.
Yeah.
They should leave these kids out of their political theater.
Yeah, indeed. I sat and watched the whole video of that meeting where people came up and spoke. You had people saying everything from that these kids were from the Middle East, that they were bringing diseases. There was a woman who had a conspiracy theory that the kids would be put into the schools in Vassar. Just every range of sort of conspiracy. It was called an invasion. We're talking about 120 12 to 14-year-olds. Are those kids still going to be coming to Vassar?
We still don't know, and this goes back to some of the early confusion. There has been no decision made, but I want to make sure I'm clear. If that is the case, that it's determined that this facility could provide shelter and safety for children who are at risk of great harm, at risk of being put into sex trafficking, for example, or being subjected to violence by drug lords, we should accept them. I agree with Pope Francis. This is at first a humanitarian crisis. They may not be American citizens, but they are human beings, and it's a long-standing part of our history that when there are children at risk, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, we are willing to do even this small part that we could play in making sure that they're safe. That's really what we're talking about. And then the larger issues of immigration, sure, we need to deal with those, but we need to deal with those through the normal legislative process. Unfortunately, it's the Republican leadership that refuses to take up immigration reform. I agree with some of my colleagues. Cancel the recess. Let's stay in Washington. We'll have a whole month. We can have a hearing every day, and let's get this done. It would make a huge difference if we were able to deal with immigration reform and include this problem in it.
All right. And so what do you think when you see people showing up to protest these children coming to your district with guns, with AR-15 strapped on? What kind of message is that supposed to send?
Well, I hate to think of the message that they're trying to send. I mean, I suspect that they're trying to show their bravado, that they're willing to stand up to this, what they call an invasion. These are children who are the victims of crime in their home countries, who are fleeing out of fear. They are not somebody that we need to defend ourselves against. They are part of the human race, and we ought to embrace them, deal with their cases in a way that's consistent with law. But let's not forget that just because they might not look like those folks, they come from a different part of this Western Hemisphere, they're human beings, and they need to be treated with compassion. Do we want to be, I would ask them, do you want to be responsible? Even though you might not be immediately accountable for it, do you want to be responsible for what happens to those children if we send them back? Who knows what could happen to them? I don't want that on my conscience, and I think I ask everybody who's involved in this debate to examine their conscience before they use these, I think, hateful words and language to describe children who are simply fleeing a dangerous situation in order to protect themselves.
Well, Congressman Dan Kildee, here's hoping that your body, the U.S. House of Representatives, can do something, anything. It's been a long time, sir, since we've seen a lot come out of that body, but here's hoping that you can convince your colleagues on the other side of the aisle to do, I don't know, something.
We have to keep pushing. We absolutely have to keep pushing.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joy.
All right, and coming up.